right, so welcome back to the AfterHours podcast. I'm your host, Francisco Delator. Co-host today, I got Joseph Prohaska. And then with us today, our special guest is Kim Collins from Guardian Brewing up in Saugatuck, Michigan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Just had a couple podcasts earlier in the week, so we're just vibing right now on the podcast grind.
That's great. Podcasts are what's making life interesting right now.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to get out of work and everything. You know, it seems like it's not quite work; it's just fun.
I agree. I listen to them every day. So,
what are your favorites?
I'm totally hooked on LeVar Burton reading me stories right now. LeVar Burton reads, love it.
What subject do they cover?
A lot of sci-fi and fantasy and kind of things along those lines, like cultural sorts of stories. They're interesting. It's a little different than crime podcasts or I Love This American Life, so it's a different spin.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Joe Rogan guy. I just like the mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
But I definitely will give that a listen for sure. Guardian Brewing Company, how did you guys start? When did you guys open your doors? Give us your story.
It's been a long journey. So we officially started the company in 2015. And I started it through consulting was kind of the first work that we did because we knew it would take a while to open a brewery, like the actual physical location. So we're out in Colorado. I'd been brewing for 5 other breweries and we thought it was time to take the jump to open our own, but there's always that gap. So worked on consulting and then thought we were going to open in Colorado and did not work out. We just couldn't find like the right spot, the right land and zoning and stuff, and played the what if game. What if we came home to the Midwest? And Michigan seemed like the perfect state for us to come back to. Just craft beer is booming right now, and there's nothing like the West Michigan on the lake. Like it's no offense, rest of Michigan. I mean, up north is totally amazing too, but I just love being on Lake Michigan. It's fantastic. So we opened here in 2018, and so we're about a year and a half old now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally feel that because I'm from just south of Detroit. I live right next to Lake Erie Metro Park.
Yeah.
And so all my friends have boats, and we just love to go out in the water, hang out by like the Metro Park and just chill and enjoy like the environment. So I totally understand that aspect from it. And yeah, it just seems like home. And you're from the Midwest, right?
Yeah. So my dad's down in the Indiana National Lakeshore. So that's why Lake Michigan's so familiar to me. My mom's in the suburbs, and then I got a sister up in Kenosha County. So pretty much all the rest of the lake.
So Kim, you mentioned consulting. What type of consulting did you do?
So brewery consulting, anything from helping owners find their brewers to literally planning out where brewery equipment was going to go and purchasing and all the things that kind of lead into opening a brewery that's besides doing architect drawings. Like I worked really closely with Migraine Brewing in Joliet from before they existed all the way to now, and did a little work with Hop River in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Past that, it was just a little bit of marketing consulting here and there. People needing flyers for this and that. I was kind of willing to help however I could.
So how did you originally get into brewing in the industry as a whole?
Well, so I started at home like a lot of people do, and I just loved making beer. I'm sure that's how chefs get really excited about cooking. I like cooking, but I never got this excited. So I liked making beer, and then I left the outdoor industry and thought, what would I want to do? And I thought that brewing beer would be awesome because it would not only include community that you're in, which is really important. Like I felt like I was missing that piece, being away on expeditions and things in the outdoor industry. So you're local, you're there, you get to meld and, be a part of the community and influence it in a positive way. And then you have craft beer and you have live music and you have food, and it's kind of like all my favorite things all in one.
Oh yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff as well. And you touched on the community aspect around, brewing and foods and stuff like that. Is there a reason why the community in Saugatuck and in Michigan is maybe not better, but just it's more of your fit than it was in Colorado?
I wouldn't even say that the community is more of a fit. For us, it ended up being that the property was more of a fit and that the community fit the community that we had in Colorado. And that's one that's just really open-minded and like local and art focused. Like we looked at 100 properties just in Michigan, from Muskegon down to New Buffalo, and we just kept coming back to like Saugatuck, Douglas, Fenville. Like I just love this area. It's wonderful. So great people, great little towns. It felt like something that we wanted to be a part of permanently.
Nice. So what would you say your favorite part about owning a brewery is?
I think it's getting to connect with the community. So in my case, I think my favorite part is the people that I've met through our mug club and through beer school. I mean, they become, I call them my beer family. Like we're really close with them and they're close with us. And, you know, it's kind of a bummer that we can't see each other right now, but they're people that I talk to every few days online. And I think that's definitely my favorite part, even more than the beer itself.
So have you been doing any webinars or any events while COVID has been happening?
No, honestly, we're a small brewery, and I have a team of 5 that have been cooking and like, you know, doing carry out and being the front of the house, only 5. And then Kate, our operations chief, and myself make 7. And so, no, we have been up slinging beer, just trying to keep up with social media. Like I have such grand plans and no time to do them. So we're just going to keep keeping on.
Yeah, I feel like that's that's a pretty common theme amongst most self-motivated like entrepreneurs, is that you have all of these great ideas that you want to execute, but it just takes a lot of time because you always just have so much on your plate.
Yep, it's true.
And then I also saw you're talking about slinging beer, of course. You guys also do delivery, is that correct?
Yeah, so we've been doing deliveries since day one. We didn't want to wait and kind of miss the boat on that. So we're delivering, I think, within like a 10-minute radius. So that gets us pretty far here, because we figured that we can only really have a staff person away for like 20 or 30 minutes before the person that's left behind needs that person. So that's why our radius is small, but our staff are psyched, and they've been running deliveries every day since the shutdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely be ordering some beer if I could.
Yeah, it shows up on your doorstep. It's awesome. And we've been doing free delivery because everybody who's ordering our beer and our food are helping us. So the least we can do is like just bring it.
For sure.
So you have food delivered as well, along with the drinks? You can get both?
Yeah, so because we're a pub, you can get beer, food, wine, cider. Like pretty awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. What type of food do you guys have?
So I would say that we don't have any fryers in our kitchen right now because we have an auxiliary kitchen. So our chef is making everything he possibly can from scratch. And by that, I mean everything minus the meat and the bread that we serve and chips. Everything else is made from scratch. So every dressing, every marinade, every concoction of this or that and the other, it's pretty amazing. So we do a lot of vegan and vegetarian food, as well as food with meat in it. And we're just trying to source things respectfully and responsibly. That's very important to us. And then I want to give people like things that are hearty and make you feel good when you eat them, but also like fresh. I think it's really hard to go out and find like a really good salad to complement your meal, or, something that's made locally. Like Michigan's a great growing region. And so we have everything that we need here, and we can get it all fresh most of the year. There's even people who are growing in greenhouses and then hydroponics up in Grand Rapids. So we're in an awesome area for this.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And, being from Michigan, I know all about that. I just love all the foods that we have to offer. And I know like a lot of mom and pop shops, they do like a lot of their own dairy products and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I definitely understand that. It just tastes better too.
I think so.
So if you're getting one item of food and one drink from your bar, what do you recommend for everybody?
So our best sellers across the list would be our Reuben. So we do our Reuben with a pastrami, and then the sauerkraut is fermented like right alongside my beer. It's awesome. It's tangy. So Reuben for the sandwich, and then for beer, we have a tie. So any day of the week, it is either our golden ale called Gator Bait, which was made to be like an ale version of Coors Banquet. Since I came from Golden, I kind of needed a little comfort back in Michigan. So either Gatorbait Golden Ale or Nessie Imperial IPA, and it's a double dry hopped Imperial with mosaic hops and blue juniper berries.
Oof.
It's good.
That all sounds so good. We're definitely big Reuben guys. So if we come to Guardian, we're definitely gonna have to try that out.
Yeah.
Also, I want to try that ale. The golden ale sounds so good.
Mm-hmm. So you said it was double hops. What exactly does that mean for the people who don't know?
If you see the initials DDH or the words double dry hopped, it means that your first hopped addition is somewhere during fermentation. So some people put it in like a couple hours in, or maybe a day or 2 days or 3 days. And then the second hop addition or another hop addition would be after fermentation. When you're adding hops, when it's warmer, the beer is warmer during fermentation. And when it's cooler after fermentation, you get different hop profiles. So it's pretty cool when you see that. Like, that's definitely got a depth of character to a double dry hop that is different from no dry hop or just a single dry hop.
That is something I did not know.
My nerdery knows no bounds.
There you go.
It seems like you're very passionate about brewing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. You gotta love it. It's so much cleaning.
Is it really?
Oh man, I'd say the sexy part of brewing is what's happening right now, or it's when you get to drink the beer, when you get to like introduce someone to a new beer, or talk to a customer. 99% of the rest of it is making a mess and cleaning it up and making a mess and cleaning it up. Yeah, there's a lot of cleaning and sanitizing that goes into brewing, and you can tell when people do it right.
So what is your favorite drink to drink then? Is it one of those or is it something else?
I don't have like a favorite beer. I would say that there was a time in my life where I didn't drink seasonally, but I think that I'm kind of settling in. Maybe it's because I'm brewing seasonally now. I would say that a favorite style of beer that I have is coffee beer. So not necessarily stouts, but it could be a porter, it could be a blonde, it could be a pale. I just love coffee and beer. Definitely my favorite style of beer. But you'll catch me drinking everything, pretty much everything, as long as it tastes good.
No, that's how I feel too. I'll try anything once, and if it's beer, I will usually try it at least 4 more times after that. So
there you go.
I know exactly how that goes.
So are you drinking anything right now?
I am. I'm actually drinking a coffee beer right now.
There it is.
Nice.
So
And which one is that?
an Epic Brewing Son of a Baptist. So it's a coffee stout with cocoa nibs, and then the coffee that they use in it, they rotate per batch. And I guess you're supposed to be able to look at the code on the bottom of the can and go to their website and like punch it in and find out who the roaster is. But I can't crack the code. I can't figure out which code on the can is the code to write into the website. But I know that they work with lots of roasters in Salt Lake City and Denver, and I used to brew for them, so I got a big soft spot for them.
Yeah, that sounds so good. Joey's doing some research right now. He's looking it up.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I know this is probably a little bit different than what you were talking about, but the other day I tried like a PBR with coffee in it. I'm sure that's a little different, but it was actually pretty decent.
You know, I don't mind PBR by any means. I actually prefer it to other like big beers, and I've seen that. My sister sent me. So what'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. The only thing is, after like 3 or 4 of them, they start to get kind of like weird, a little too sugary. But like the first 2 or 3 is pretty good.
Huh. Okay.
I would definitely recommend trying it though.
Okay.
I've had one. I don't know if you've ever had like the like on the go glass bottle like Starbucks Frappuccinos, but that's very similar to like the taste that I got from it. It's like very sweet, very sugary, but then there's also just like a little bit of kick at the end.
Wait, so is this supposed to be like PBR with coffee, or is it like a quote hard coffee?
No, it's made by PBR. It's just like
yeah, it's supposed to be like a hard coffee. So
Okay.
It has coffee and milk in it.
That's why it's so sweet. Anytime you see that hard coffee, because I was like, oh man, PBR with coffee, that sounds interesting. And I'm like, ooh, hard coffee. I haven't found a hard coffee I love yet. They all taste really fake to me.
Oh, really? What types have you tried?
I don't even know, but we went to this, I can't remember what they were called. It was like a little tasting inside a store, you know, when you could actually interact with humans. We were at a liquor store called Rishi's in Grand Rapids, and they were doing like a little tasting, like 3 or 4 different hard coffees. I don't know who the brand was, but I found them all really sweet, like sweeter than the Starbucks ones, like that fake sweetener taste.
Yeah, that's kind of the same vibe I got. I haven't tried enough to really, compare either or. The PBR was decent. I would like to try other ones, but as far as like saying like if any other ones are good or not, I haven't tried them, so I really wouldn't know.
This is why everyone should sell things in singles, because then you're not committed to like the 6-pack or the 4-pack or whatever. Like that's beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I wish it's like with the PBRs and some other like similar stuff I've seen. You got to buy them in at least 4, and like you said, at least like 6 sometimes too. And it's like, I kind of just want to try one because it sounds weird,
Yeah, I hear you.
And I didn't even know that, like, what is it, hard coffee? Like, I didn't know that was like a brand of beer, like a type of beer.
I don't even know if it's beer per se. I bet it says like malt beverage, kind of like Smirnoff and Zima and like hard seltzer. Like none of them are beer, but I think that they're made from like corn syrup or I don't even know. Like I don't know. I don't know what people are making these things out of nowadays. It's mysterious.
Yeah, it says it's a malt beverage. They also have a non-alcoholic version. I don't know why you would want that, but they do have it.
Yeah, amen to that. That's called coffee.
Right, might as well just drink coffee. Exactly.
And then, so going back, what does it mean to be a cicerone? If I'm even saying that correctly.
No, you did say it correctly.
Okay.
So for me, I've always been looking for ways to become more educated about the industry, and being a teacher, ways that I can not only educate myself, but also help to educate others. And the Cicerone program just hits that as far as education for me, but it also hits pairing food and beer together and knowing more about the styles and kind of it's not really how to brew, it's how to taste. And so that is just, as soon as I heard that program existed, that was very interesting to me. So a little bit different than becoming like a beer judge so that you can judge homebrew and pro competitions. This is more of a tasting and sensory certification program. And pretty long. Like, I mean, it was a big deal to just become a certified Cicerone when I got it. And that was 2015. And then now there are advanced and master Cicerones. My exam was 4 hours, so I can't even imagine how long theirs are. Like it's pretty big deal. It's like a sommelier, but for beer.
Okay.
So how long did that class take you?
Well, there wasn't a class for it. That's the thing. You had to go out and seek your information. So now they have lots of classes that you can take, and you can do them online and you can do them in person. But 5 years ago, they barely had course books for the different styles of beers. So the Cicerone program has grown a lot in the past 5 years. I took it based on other people's study guides and just having drank and brewed a lot of beer, and passed my first time out. So I was grateful for that because it's quite a process to retake.
Yeah, congratulations. So when you took the test, did you have to taste the beer, or like is it like a written exam?
So there's multiple choice, essay, practical. So they have you like do a task, like maybe take apart a faucet for a draft tower and talk about how to clean a draft system. Yeah. And then tasting is a good portion of it too. I'd say that was probably an hour and a half of the exam.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome though. You get to taste different brews while taking an exam.
Oh no, it was terrible. They spike them with all of these like chemical off flavors.
Oh no.
So no, there's no joy in that tasting. It's just like anxiety and like, oh God, what did they put in this? Like,
but are they like super strong?
No, and that's the thing too. But so the base beer varies per year. But it's something bland, like mine was Sam Adams Light, or sometimes they'll use like Miller Light, something very light and like not a lot of character to it. So it doesn't mess around with the chemicals they put in it. And then the chemicals, not scary chemicals, but like literally chemicals that might smell like bananas or smell like a skunk, kind of like a Heineken does.
Yeah.
Like that's a chemical reaction to light. So, but they can actually just make little droplets and put chemicals in those classes. So I actually teach those classes in our beer school too. So we just call it an off flavors class. It's not fun. People are in class and I'm like, I didn't tell you this was going to be fun. I said it was going to be educational. They're like, the beer tastes awful. I'm like, yep, there you go.
Oh yeah, we're definitely not drinking Bud Lights right now or anything like that.
No, what are you guys drinking?
Bud Light.
No, nice.
we're taking it light today, you know.
So what's a great light beer that's made in Ohio?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a hard one.
is Yingling?
It's like Jackie O's got one, or
I think Yingling's in Michigan, isn't it? No, Yingling's Ohio.
Yingling's Ohio, isn't it?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, it is Pennsylvania. Dang, because
I'm glad she's here. She knows more than we do.
I was gonna say the best beers I've had like from the Midwest are definitely like Yingling, and then the Great Lakes Brewing Companies. They're pretty good, but they can be kind of, if you don't like a little heavy. They do have their light versions, but some of theirs get pretty heavy.
Dude, that Dortmunder Gold though from Great Lakes is excellent.
See, I had to get used to that because I tried that one time like 2 or 3 years back, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a little strong." I tried it again a few months ago, and I'm starting to get the palate for it. But it's definitely one you have to work your way up to.
Don't try the Lake Erie Monster then. It'll just rip all the taste buds off your tongue.
Oh, really?
It's their double IPA. It's amazing, but it will catch you off guard if you don't know it's coming.
Would you say like IPAs and stronger beers are something you kind of have to get accustomed to?
Yeah, I think so. Like I remember, I don't know, a little bit before my brewing career, I didn't even like IPAs. Like I had not found the one. My gateway IPA was Dragonfly IPA by Upland because it was so chill. Like it wasn't bitter. It wasn't harsh. And I mean, New England IPAs, like unless you were in New England, no one was drinking them a while back. I'm like, I've been of age for a little while. So, so in order to find a good IPA, it took a little while. So, just don't give up.
Yeah, that was kind of a similar experience with me. I can't remember. It was some at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company here in Toledo. I had one that was really good and kind of like turned me into drinking and trying some more IPAs. But I can't think of the exact one. But it was about probably a year ago, and I tried it. I'm like, okay, this is pretty good, because I've always been kind of weary of them because they're pretty strong, and they're definitely you definitely work your way up. And then I tried that one, and I'm like, all right, I guess I just have to give all of them a chance and find the ones I like.
There you go. I like that. That's like the craft beer way. I dig it.
Right. Same with like food. You're scared at the beginning, but then you just keep trying more stuff, and then after you just keep trying, and then you're like, all right, this is pretty good.
Absolutely.
It is so funny that you brought up the Maumee Bay, because I was literally looking it up on my phone, because that was some of my first experience as well with IPAs. I mean, we're both just out of college, so it really wasn't too long ago that we were able to like start going out and sampling these beers properly.
I do remember though one that kind of scared me. I had this chocolate stout at Maumee Bay, and it was like really strong. I don't know, it was either a chocolate stout or a breakfast stout, and it was like 9% or something like that. And it was a little rough for me personally.
Yeah, it's like 3 of the buds that you're drinking.
Oh yeah, definitely about 3 of them.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm getting my 4th right now. No, I tried that, the same thing, the breakfast stout.
Yeah,
it just tasted kind of like burnt chocolate in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because I don't have a palate for it, if we're being honest. So
what would you recommend to start getting the palate? Maybe a few like beers or a few techniques that you get to get the palate for these more higher percentage beers.
Flights are the way. So if you're going to go to a craft brewery, or I guess you could apply this to buying singles at the store, go get a flight of something when you go somewhere and try to get a good variety. Like maybe one is a amber ale, and which are pretty nice to start with if you're going to start trying to get into darker beers. Maybe try milk stout. They're a little smoother and a little less burnt chocolate. I think that's what you said. So they have but it's all gonna, it's like ordering chicken noodle soup from somebody. Like 10 people could make chicken noodle soup, but every single one of them is going to taste different. So just keep trying. And from there, my gateway beer was a wheat beer. I'm like, wheat beer is what got me to love craft beer. It's easy to drink. It's not too high in alcohol. And then from there, I went to like ambers and browns. I'm like, those are pretty chill. They're not too hoppy, hoppy in the sense of being bitter. So they're nice. They're smooth. They're easy to drink. Again, they're not 9%. And so from there, like the alcohol content that you're talking about getting into, there's only so many beers that fall into that category. So you have like stouts, so imperial stouts, but then everybody likes to make like imperial pilsners and browns that really are just high alcohol versions of those. Like they're not traditional styles, but it's a higher alcohol version. So anytime you see imperial, just know you're in for it. Anytime you see double, you're in for it. It's the same term used interchangeably. So maybe something sweet, like not sweet, but like smoother, like an imperial stout. But make sure that you stick with like maybe 8 and 9%, not 10, 11, 12, because they get hotter, boozier, and will kick you on your butt faster.
Right.
Like, that's a big deal. We made a 12.5% stout and a 12% barley wine for our anniversary, and they go down smooth and they catch people off guard.
Oh yeah, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just drinking, 3 beers, and then you're like, oh crap, I just drank 3 12% beers. So it's a little different than, like you said, 3 Bud Lights.
But I mean, session beer is great for that too. Like, if you're looking to drink more craft beer but don't want to get your butt kicked, like anything is 5% and under, whether they write it on the package, is a session beer. So really nice. We make a bunch of them because I like to sit and have a couple with people, not one, and feel it when you get off the stool.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure with those 12% ones, if you're working or if you're just having a drink with a few people, definitely a little harder if you have 3 or 4 of them to keep working.
I won't even drink an entire one at the end of the evening at work. I will drink them at home. I'm like, that's just high alcohol for me. I save that for home.
Right. Makes sense.
I was just looking up one of these beers that I had in Canada. It's called Kronenberg. It is it's a wheat beer. I don't know if you've had that, but that was my first experience with a wheat beer, and I loved it.
Is it the Kronenberg, the 1664?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep, that I just because you said the wheat might be like my gateway to trying more beers, and I had that a couple years back, and I was a big fan of that, and then like recently I've been getting more into like the golden ales and ambers and stuff like that.
Yep, blondes are really nice too. Like, blondes are a little easier than golden ales. They have a little bit more fruitiness to them, but it's negligible if you're not looking for it. But yeah, really nice. Even a cream ale. Like, have you guys heard of Spotted Cow from New Glarus? You ever made it to Wisconsin?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's only for sale in Wisconsin. So if you ever find yourself there, get some because it's great. And it tastes like it could just be like a really easy lager, but it's really a cream ale, and it's wonderful. They're very famous for it.
Might have to hit up Neil and go to Wisconsin.
Yeah. One of our friends lives in Wisconsin, and he's always trying to get people to come there. So we might have to go just to try that out.
There you go. Ask him what he thinks of Spotted Cow.
I'm sure
That's okay. That's where I heard it before because he's the one that said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's okay. I remember I heard Spotted Cow before. I'm sorry, I'm getting so excited about this.
It's great.
But he was trying to convince us like a couple years back at a tailgate, and he brought some. And he's like, guys, this is like the best beer. It's like, is this from Wisconsin? And I just now put it together that was the beer he's talking about.
And we didn't always take him seriously, so we're like, oh yeah, sure, it's the best beer,
Yeah, I bet you wish you tried that now.
I was gonna say, yeah. Now that you're telling us about it, we're like, crap. Maybe we should listen to him.
Yeah, that's so funny.
That's great.
You had mentioned Heineken has like that like skunky kind of like flavor to it or like smell almost, right?
Yep.
So is that in part because of the bottle that they use? Because most bottles you get, they come in like very tinted, very dark shades, whereas Heineken and like Stella, they're green and almost transparent.
Yeah, so it's absolutely the bottle. So Heineken, Rolling Rock, Pilsner Urquell used to have a green bottle, but they switched to brown. So what happens, without getting too nerdy into it, is the green doesn't keep enough light out of the bottle. And so when it could be light, like UV light from stores, just regular fluorescent lighting, or sunlight gets in the bottle and hits the hops, it creates a chemical effect that smells like skunk.
I'm kind of confused. Is that like a sought after taste that people like? Because I'm not a big fan, if we're being honest.
No, and it's I would say that some people seek the flavor. And I would say that because I heard this anecdote that Heineken tried to brew its beer in the U.S. a long time ago. And so the U.S. was finally able to get fresh Heineken, and they didn't like it, and they weren't selling it. And so they went back and just started, shipping it over again. So that way it had time to go through that chemical reaction and produce mercaptan is what that chemical is called, and have that skunkiness to it. So people that drink Heineken prefer that taste. Corona's got a little bit of it in it because, they're in clear bottles. So I would argue that people do prefer it. And those that don't drink Heineken or Rolling Rock or Corona or, anything that's in light colored bottles like that.
Right.
That makes sense. I'm personally a huge Corona fan, but as far as like Heineken and Stella, I remember one time I had a warm Stella, and I don't think I could ever drink one again.
Fresh Stella is amazing. Kate and I went to Belgium right before we opened in Saugatuck, and actually went over to Leuven and went to Stella, and it's an incredible beer, but not when it's all skunked.
Makes sense. I'll just have to get a cold one next time.
That's right.
Yeah, that was something that I had noticed too. Was like you mentioned Corona. I've always like tasted that like whenever I'm drinking one, but I guess ignore it and put just more lime into it. But that's definitely something I'm gonna keep an eye out for now. But I've noticed it in the past, and I just didn't know if like the beer was skunked. But I guess if it went through that process long enough, it has that flavor. So
yeah, it's a little bit more delicate than Heineken's because it has less hops, but it still happens.
But now I know. Did not know before.
Now I'm just ruining beer for everyone.
Hey, you're giving us a lot of knowledge that we didn't know before, so that's very useful.
Thanks. Lots of little party tips and tricks. You're like, hey, this is what I heard the other day.
Yeah, it's almost like you're a teacher or something weird like that, huh?
Yeah, weird. Yeah, I can't give it up. It always sneaks in.
So you had taught previously before getting into brewing at multiple universities, is that correct?
Yeah, I taught at Indiana University Bloomington and then Metropolitan State University of Denver.
Nice. And what courses did you teach?
Various outdoor courses. So anything from skill courses like backpacking or whitewater kayaking or canoeing, that sort of stuff, where you're like going to learn that skill, to leadership courses, to event planning, pretty much whatever needed to be done. I was happy to do it.
Yeah. And it sounds like you covered a pretty wide variety there too. I assume you're a pretty big outdoorsman, right?
Yeah. I mean, not now that we've opened the brewery, like I've definitely been here most of the time, but I got a really nice canoe that's been dipped in a lake one time in Michigan, and I look forward to more trips in the future.
What lake was that?
Lake Michigan, I think, or kind of where Lake Kalamazoo Lake meets Lake Michigan. So Kalamazoo Lake is just a tributary that goes in, so kind of right in that zone.
Gotcha. Going back to your degree, what was your degree in then?
I have my master's in science in outdoor recreation, and then I focused on motivation and leadership.
Very nice. And you're still teaching, your brew school, or is it brew school or beer school at Guardian Brewing?
I call it beer school because very little of it has to do with brewing, and most of it just has to do with tasting and learning about the history of styles, and we have a great time. I've missed it very much these past few months.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have to come and take a couple classes. Got to learn some stuff,
Please do. I'm like, we had people traveling from all over. They'll come and they'll book a room for the night, somewhere close to the brewery, which there's a bunch of places because we're a tourist town. And then they'll come and take beer school, and all of my classmates hang out afterwards and get some dinner. And then, it's a whole deal. It's fun.
Yeah, sounds like I'm very interested. And I mean, especially if there's food involved, yeah, can't say no.
Yeah, well, some of them will actually pair beer with food. And we're actually, hopefully, when all of this opens up again, we'll be able to do our first brewing course this fall. So just a real simple brew at home course just for the people who are interested.
So I have a question. I always love this one. If you were to go to a restaurant or a bar other than your own, what would it be?
I would go to the Mountain Sun in Boulder, Colorado. I love that place. So it's a brewery. So they have a brew pub. Really wonderful, fresh menu. This should sound familiar. Great local sourced food made really well, and their beer is just awesome. So they have ones that they have on all year round. They usually have like 20 something taps, and then ones that travel around, whether that's seasonal or one-offs. Or the people are great, the food, the beer is great, the atmosphere. It's all music posters. Like it's definitely a place that I love hanging out.
Yeah, and one of my roommates, Dan, he's our producer on the show. He's actually going to Colorado in June, so in Boulder specifically. So I will definitely tell him to check it out.
Yeah, he's got to go. So they have the Mountain Sun, the Southern Sun, and Under the Sun all in Boulder, and they're all great.
Are they all owned by the same people?
Yep. So instead of doing distribution works out there a little bit differently. So they're all owned by the same people. They also have a pub in Longmont, which is north of Boulder, and one in Denver. So it was just easier for them to open up multiple locations than it would be to, build bigger and bigger breweries. They kind of keep the same vibe throughout. It's killer.
Definitely gonna check it out. And Dan, when you're editing this podcast or you're listening to it, you gotta go. Always love to mess with Dan. So you are a lifelong learner and teacher, but how do those skills translate to brewing? Maybe not specifically your beer school, but what aspects do you think that you take from your teaching career and apply them?
I feel like I'm not afraid to go learn something new. So in the case of maybe a brewing technique or a style I've never brewed before, like I remember doing our first sour. That was really anxiety ridden for me, but it worked out great. So it just learning to do something new on the system. And then I have 2 assistant brewers, so I'm constantly teaching anyway. So 2 people who both went to beer school, and kind of took different paths from there as far as internships, but both ended up at Guardian. And so I work really closely with them. And, I take the same approach as I did in outdoor teaching, in that I'm going to show you how this happens and how this works, whatever the skill is. Say it's like cleaning a tank. So like I will find out what you know about cleaning tanks, kind of fill in the gaps, like let you know how we clean tanks at Guardian. And we'll do one together, and then I'll be around, but like I'm going to have you show me how to do the next one. So the whole idea of like learn one, show one, teach one. So hoping that my assistant that's been around longer can help teach the new assistant a little bit too. So kind of making a cycle out of it. So it's teaching all the time. Like it's just part of who we are. And staff training is teaching, and managing our staff is teaching. It's all teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you have a pretty good grasp on it. They always say that you can't really master a skill until you can teach it to someone else, right? So I think it's really great that you do that and you put them through those steps so they can eventually teach someone else.
Yep, that is my hope.
While we're on the talk of your business partners and people you work with, Kate Bishop, she runs the operations, correct?
Yep, she's our operations manager. Yep.
Awesome. Shout out to Kate. What characteristics make her a great business partner?
She is my life partner, so that's a pretty unique situation. So we have like a great deal of trust. Kate treats this business as if it is her own as well. So she looks over all the people and the finances and the things in the business, and she takes them very to heart and very personally. I know that she cares and she's passionate about what we're doing. She's been kind of in on the planning all the way through. And then because she's honest, there's no me questioning, there's no interpersonal weirdness. Like we know what we mean, we know what we're saying. And she is a great researcher and teacher. So that's kind of how we met and got connected down in Indiana. And so her ability to work with staff, it is something special and something that if I know that it is in her hands, I know that it is handled probably even better than I could do it. So that feels great.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome that you can, rely on somebody and, have your full trust in them and knowing that they can execute and they are very great at what they do.
Yes.
So does that ever get weird, like work and home life? Does it ever conflict, or do you guys ever have like butting heads on issues?
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All the time. All the time. I think the weird part was for staff to see that, like, that we disagree. They would be all freaked out, like, oh, mom and dad are fighting. Like, we're not fighting. We're just disagreeing. Like, I think that's healthy for people to disagree, but also to watch this happening between other people and to see it work out, to see like how where we get to after it, like what decisions are made. And I think it shows them that we care. Like if we just kind of rolled over every time something got hard, then I don't know that as a staff person, I would feel great faith in the people that were leading the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how we feel in our business too. Me, Joey, and a couple of our other friends, we started a software business called Winhouse Software. And there are a lot of tough conversations that, have to be had between one another. And, we're all still best friends, but it is being able to recognize the situation and overcome it and realize that it's for the best and nobody takes it personally,
Absolutely.
So I was looking on your website and I saw that, your establishment, the Red Barn, has a lot of history. It's been around for almost 100 years now. Do you want to give the listeners a brief explanation, a little backstory on, the Red Barn and then how it came into your hands?
I kind of chuckled that it did come into our hands because I heard that this barn was for sale for years before we looked at it, and I just knew right away, like within 20 minutes of seeing the property, like this was the place. So we're on a corner, and we're on the corner of Blue Star Highway and 63rd Street. And 63rd is residential, and Blue Star Highway starts the commercial, I'm quoting, like the commercial district for our township. It's not very commercial. There's a really nice trucking company, a few artists, a couple event centers, and us. Like, the Red Barn was originally a horse barn for the Belvedere Mansion across the street from us. They're now the Belvedere Inn. So they're like a really beautiful B&B, and they do wine dinners, and it's in this gorgeous historical house. So picture that, like beautiful mansion. Across the street is our barn. So horse barn, nothing fancy about it at the time. There were local, like a community play group, theater group that were meeting in between Saugatuck and Douglas back in the day, and they called it the Red Barn Theater, and it was in a tiny little barn where like the Petter Gallery is in town. So for people that are listening and know the area, really well-known art gallery and wine bar. So a little tiny barn, and they were like, man, this barn's too small. And so they opened up a theater in a horse barn that was obviously converted. So when we got this building a couple years ago, it's like a big L, and the short kind of leg on the L is the barn from 1912. And then it goes into a 200-seat theater area. So picture 200 seats, kind of on a slant. That was built in 1948. 1956, they added more onto the stage and kind of a little practice stage below. So it was quite a big deal. Like, they had actors and actresses from New York and LA. Like, I picture it like a roller coaster ride. And when they were at the peak of the roller coaster, they were putting on shows every month, or I don't know, maybe even more, like really, really hopping. Like, this was the thing to do in town, was to come to the Red Barn and see a show. And when they were at the bottom of the roller coaster ride, it was great producers trying to scrape money together to get something new done to the building, or, a good cast of people, and put on a production for the summer. The theater went black for a few summers. And by the time we got it, so it would have been 2017. So end of 2017, the last production was, I think, a comedy show and or The Wizard of Oz that spring of 17, because we still have a yellow brick road painted on our driveway on 63rd Street, which is pretty fun. And it had been a church. It was being kind of rented out as needed to people. And there was a whole new part of the building put on in 2005 for an event center. But the second that I saw the event center, I said, this is going to be a brewery. So it's a 6,000 square foot pole barn, like with no posts or walls or anything in the middle. So it's just this huge open space. I'm like, this is perfect. So the old breezeway between the two buildings became a restaurant. The pole barn became our kitchen, our offices, kind of a big walk-in cooler, classroom, brewery, that sort of thing. And then the rest of the building is to be determined in the future, but we know we're going to put in a full-size kitchen and an event center eventually. Just this year kind of throws off any timeline that we could have had, so we're just being flexible.
That's really all you can do right now.
Yeah.
Are you in the part of Michigan that's opening up, or are you in how far north are you?
So we are, I'd say, about a third of the way up the state. We're just south of Grand Rapids. So we're in the part of the state, we're in a county that really has not a whole lot going on, but we're just near enough to Grand Rapids that we are not opening up until the 12th, fingers crossed.
Jeez. Yeah, it's pretty crazy just how long everything's staying closed in Michigan, because for the last week and a half now in Ohio, you could go out and you could still go out and go to restaurants, and then
on the patio,
right? Mm-hmm. And then bars and stuff just started to open this week as well.
We're super jealous. So we have friends and family in Bowling Green and then in St. Mary's. And yeah, they're just like, why isn't your state open yet? And we're like, we don't know.
So do you guys have plans set in place to reopen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were ready to reopen this upcoming Friday. So in 4 days, we were ready. We've been ready like 6 times.
Oh, gosh.
So as soon as she says yes, we're there. So,
Right on. Are you guys doing anything special for like a reopening?
Well, probably. But every time we think we're going to reopen, she kicks it further down the road. So
Right.
maybe it'll be a tapping because I just brewed a few days ago. I'm like, we don't know. So hopefully the beer I just made will be there for reopening. That would be perfect timing. But we haven't been able to plan anything, including live music. We were going to have a couple bands if we were opening on Friday of this week. We're going to have a band on Friday and Saturday, but we're going to have to reschedule them. So probably somewhere centered around beer or live music.
That's awesome. So a quick question about brewing. How long does a batch stay well or stay good after you've brewed it?
And you're going to hate my answer because I'm going to say it depends on the style. If your beer is higher in alcohol, it should, and I say should, last longer, meaning it didn't have a lot of like oxygen added into the process, because oxidizing, it kind of happens to your fruit, like it turns fruit brown. It kind of does that in the same chemical way to the flavors in beer, so it kind of makes them muted and not as, tropical smelling if it's a hop, or, it'll take the chocolate and the coffee out of the beer over time. So things that are higher in alcohol last longer. So for example, we did those big beers for our anniversary. We've been kind of slowly serving them this spring, but even if they're around this next December for our second anniversary, I'm just going to keep tasting them and making sure, but they'll probably be fine. They'll probably taste a little different, but aged and better.
So this Bud Light in my fridge from last year is probably bad.
Yeah. I mean, then it just goes into like, how thirsty are you, right? Like, I've totally had that moment, like mow the lawn. Yeah, Kate's shaking her head at me right now, like, no. Like super old Coors. Super old Coors. I'm like, look what I found in the fridge. Like, yeah, it tastes old, but it tastes good for cooking, is what she said. Take that Bud Light and make some brats with it. It's perfect.
Oh, speaking of brats, Memorial Day, I'm sure a lot of people are cooking those up.
Oh, yeah. We were cooking them up in our kitchen and passing them out to other people. They didn't even have to cook their own.
Oh, really? What types were you cooking?
So we get brats from Corridor in Detroit. So they do Italian sausage and brats for us. And so our brats have, like I said, that killer Reuben house-made sauerkraut on it. And then the Italian sausage has some pickled onions and balsamic and some peppers. So yeah, we were making food for other people and they were just taking it to the beach. It was a good day.
I'm so hungry and so jealous.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I know.
You guys gotta come visit.
Oh, we definitely will when everything opens up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got like a little, tour planned out for all the remote podcasts we've been doing.
Sweet.
There's a couple on like the west side of Michigan.
Pickleback being one.
Yep, that's up right next to Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also have one in Mizzou, and then Saugatuck. So
nice.
Have you heard of Pickleback?
No.
That's in Marne, Michigan. It's right outside of Grand Rapids.
Oh, I know where Marne is. Our mantle of our fireplace is from Marne. I just didn't know there was a brewery in Marne. That's great. That means there's something to do in Marne next time I go.
I'm sorry to break it to you. It is not a brewery. It is a bar.
Oh, it's a bar. Okay, that makes sense. I'm like, dude, there's no brewery called Pickleback. I would totally know that. So I'm on the Michigan Brewers Guild. I'm like, I know all the breweries that are coming.
Yeah, it's they specialize like in a lot of like their like food dishes have pickles. Like they have a Reuben made with like pickled sauerkraut, stuff like that. They had a lot of good stuff like that, but no brewery, sadly.
That's okay. That sounds great though. I'm going.
Yeah, and that's always a problem with this podcast is we always interview people and they're always talking about the food, and I don't eat beforehand. I really need to learn my lesson, and I just get so hungry and so jealous,
Yeah, but we're definitely going to stop by on the tour whenever that is. Hopefully around June 12th to 15th range. But even if it's in end of June or whatever, we're still gonna make it. So
Yeah, I'm easy to find, and you guys have my contact information. So just let me know when you come.
Yeah, for
nice.
sure. Red Barn has a lot of history. It's been around for 100+ years.
Yep.
You've got to have it's like a couple ghost stories, right? Are there anything spooky going down with the Red Barn?
So this is great. So this is the joke amongst our staff. So we're just like, oh, it's the ghost, and you see patrons' face. They're like, what? Like, I feel like honestly, I'm a little sensitive to spirits in places. So it's your question. You asked. I believe that spirits exist. I believe in all this stuff, right? I don't go seek them out. I don't want to piss them off. All that stuff is a bad idea. I'm not having I don't know. There's no Ouija boards. Definitely no seances, but no Ouija boards in the barn, that sort of stuff. But, it has an energy to it, is how I'll put it. And the more time I spend in the barn, the better it feels. But after the winter, when it's been closed up and no one's in there, it is creepy as hell, especially behind stage. I don't know what it is. It's just, it makes me want to run from the building.
Somebody's staring.
Yeah, someone's staring at you. So, but there's, I have not seen anything. I haven't heard anything. It's a really old building full of birds and bats. Pretty much we're I think an aviary right now. Because it's spring and they're all having their little baby birds. But yeah, it's real creepy backstage.
So after you close up, sometimes you sprint to your car.
No, I have to. I'm totally. When I was a kid, I did the same thing. We kind of had a creepy basement, so I forced myself to walk slowly and turn the lights off. And inside, I am screaming and running.
Oh.
So of course, when we do the brewery tours, the first place I take them is backstage.
Scare them a little bit?
No, they just let their minds do what they do. I turn the lights on. They're fine. It's safe. They're with me.
That's awesome.
That is so funny.
So I have a good one. What is your hangover recipe?
Oh, God. Well, it's not age, I'll tell you that, because I definitely, the older I get, the worse it feels. I would say I'm more about hangover prevention. I think that you should eat a really good meal. So here, maybe a good burger and fries before you drink. And then out west, you got to go get burritos smothered in green chili in Colorado and eat a big one before you go drink. And then a multivitamin and a little bit of water. That's about it. Otherwise, you're screwed. You're just screwed. There's no hangover cure. I don't drink, raw eggs or eat brewer's yeast like Jim Cook does or any of that stuff. You're going to get hungover drinking those 9% Imperials. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just bound to happen.
It's going to happen.
My strategy is just to get some Pedialyte or Gatorade or something before going to bed. But yeah, it's definitely not the best. It works maybe once out of every 10. So
I try the greasy food in the morning strategy, and I know it doesn't work, but it seems like it does.
You need something to soak it up.
Yeah, that's true.
More drinking is what fixes it. You wake up and then have another beer and you're like, oh, okay.
Or Bloody Mary. That's definitely my go-to drink, usually.
This is the first year in my life that I would say I really like Bloody Marys, but I like mine with gin. I totally see that now. Whereas before in my life, I was like, these are disgusting. I don't know why.
I feel like gin would give it a really refreshing taste.
I love gin, and it's a love-hate thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of Bombay lemonade's always good. You definitely can't get cheap gin, I feel like. That's one thing I've noticed.
No.
That will definitely kick your butt.
That will give you a bad hangover.
Yeah.
Cheap gin's just like vodka and pine sol together. Are you kidding me? It's nasty. It's so bad.
Completely agree.
Yes.
I still have not expanded my flavor profile to gin, so.
Oh, I'm terrible. I have, 10 bottles, different distilleries. Gin's my jam. When I'm not drinking beer, I love gin.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Good to know. We'll bring you a bottle when we come up.
We'll trade something good. It'll be fun.
So you said you spend a lot of time at your bar. When you're not at your bar, what's your favorite hobby?
Canoeing once.
I only laugh because I was just talking about, man, we're going to be able to get our lives back this year. So it's traveling. I love traveling, whether it's going to different countries or doing stuff outside. I really am desperate at this point in time for travel. So we had a trip planned to Croatia, and we were supposed to leave in about 3 weeks. And so that was going to be quite a big bucket list item for the both of us, and to go see our friends and their families and, their extended family and be on the islands with them. Like, we'll do it again, probably next year. But yeah, it's all about traveling.
We're in Croatia. Where you're gonna go? Because actually, my family's from Croatia.
Hvar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's super beautiful over there.
Oh, that's so great. I'm like, our friends in Bowling Green, they're the ones that they're from over there. And we were going to go with them and stay with her mom and dad and brother and like the whole crew. And we can't wait. Like, we've been looking at pictures and videos of the area for forever, longer than a decade. And yeah, 15 years or so.
Ohio's a densely populated Croatian area. I've found out in the past few years.
It's so funny, of all the places.
I know it is kind of weird. But what is one place you've gone in the past and would recommend to people to go in the future?
New Zealand.
Okay, that's a new one. Have not heard that.
So,
is there any reason in particular?
I've been twice, and I am just chomping at the bit to go for a third time, or a fourth time, or a fifth time. I would love it. Like, if there was another country to live in besides Canada, because I think Canada is pretty great too, it'd be New Zealand, hands down. I love the people. I love the culture, kind of just the way that they approach the areas that they live in and the people that visit, and just kind of all of it. Like, I've seen quite a bit of the North and South Island. It's really like nothing else. Like, the way that they kind of lead their lives and how they run political structures and just all of these things. Like, it just jives with kind of who I am, and it's a great country.
Yeah, I'd love to check it out. It just seems like, it's really far, and I'd imagine somewhat expensive. So maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm like, the flight is, but once you get there, I'm like, it's not that bad. I'm like, it's renting a car and kind of taking yourself around is the best way to go.
That's kind of like Iceland. I mean, probably not even close to like climate or the atmosphere, but everyone that goes to Iceland says it's like absolutely gorgeous. And that is one of the best things to do, is actually rent a car and just go out and see all the nature that's available. It's unlike anything, we have in the US. So that's just what I've heard.
Yeah, my sister went last year or the year before, and she said the same thing. They rented a little van and went all over. It looked awesome.
What would you say the biggest difference from over there to here is?
I think just like climates, like different climates and ecosystems. Like, they just have so many more than we do. Again, the outdoor nerd in me comes out, but the amount of different ecosystems and different like plants and animals and things that live near each other over there, I would say would be akin to like the Smoky Mountain area here in the States. Like, just tons and tons of variety of, all of the things that I mentioned. It's just a cool country. And you're so close to Australia and Fiji, which I've never been to. Yeah, I'm like, I say so close. They're still pretty far away, but it's a lot closer than the 20-something hour flight than it'd be to go to like Auckland. But it's just, it's gorgeous. You've seen the Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, come on. Why you wouldn't want to visit there? Like, just mountains and green and blue water flowing everywhere. Like, they have swamps and rainforest-like areas to glaciers to everything packed in a tighter area than the U.S. does, so you can see more. I think that's why it's so impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty uncultured. I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Joey always rips on me just for being uncultured.
Every single podcast or every single time we talk, I'm like, dude, like, watch a movie or like look outside. I don't know.
He made it this far, so who knows?
Yeah, somehow.
Where's the water go?
Oh gosh, that's a bad one. All right, I got one more question. What's the most thrill-seeking thing you've ever done?
I have rafted the Gauley River in West Virginia twice, and one trip was so hairy that raft tipped over sideways. I fell on my best friend. My pants came untied, and by the time they pulled me back in the boat, I had pants around my ankles, but I was smart enough to wear a swimsuit underneath. So had I not, it would have been a rough day of swimming and losing your pants around your ankles and nearly drowning. But, it turned out that we got back in the boat and it was okay. But it's a rough river. Like I have one of the most dangerous or the most dangerous river in the United States. Like that. Yeah, I'm glad to be alive.
What class would that be?
5.
Oh, yeah. We watched some videos on that the other day because as a company, we're thinking about going whitewater rafting. And then some of the guys are like, we're good with like 2 or 3. I'm like, I could maybe try out 4 or 5. And then you like look at the class 5 and you're like, I don't know if I want to try that out.
If you guys are serious, I mean, I used to teach rafting and we worked with a lot of companies. Like, you got my email, hit me up. I'll tell you who to go with and maybe a good place to start.
We were thinking of, what is it? It's in Pittsburgh.
It's, I can't even remember. It's it's in PA.
It's like right when you get into PA. I can't think of the exact place it was, but it's like class 3, I believe.
3 and 4 will be plenty for you guys for your first trip.
Okay, good to know.
Considering we're novices.
For your first trip, and if you're like, yeah, this is awesome, then maybe try like a 4 or 5 or like just a 4. Like 5 is downright scary, but 3 is awesome.
5 looks like it'd be like fun if you knew how to do it, but right off the rip, I feel like it'd be kind of dangerous.
Yep, absolutely. It's dangerous for people who know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah, first we gotta learn how to swim.
Oh my God.
That's what your local YMCA is for.
Yeah.
Or a class 5 whitewater rafting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Straight up. Yeah, those are not life jackets. They are personal flotation devices. They just make you float. You might be floating face down. You might be floating face up.
Oh my gosh.
So don't start with a 5.
Oh, I guess a 4.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh shoot.
Frankie actually was one that said, out of all of us in the group, he said he didn't want to go because he is a little bit scared of water.
Okay, that's not even true.
That's what he told me. He's lying now, but that's what he told me.
Not even true.
You know what? You don't have to save face in front of me, Frankie, because my biggest fear is roller coasters.
Oh, really?
I lose my mind if I go on anything that feels like a roller coaster, even like, so we went to Universal and we did the Gringotts Bank ride in the Harry Potter world, and I started crying. Grown woman crying. So don't worry, it's okay. I'm like, I don't know where all these, weird fears come from, but just embrace it or get over it. I'm just going to embrace mine. I haven't been able to get over it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're in Ohio, so we are home to, the Top Thrill Dragster and Millennium Force at Cedar Point.
Yeah, hell no.
You probably don't have any plans to go to Sandusky anytime soon.
No, I will never go there. That's just a waste of money. I used to live by Six Flags, was pretty close to where I grew up. Six Flags Great America, they used to call it. Yeah. So I think about the same size or slightly, I would guess it may be a little bit smaller. But either way, no.
So what about something like skydiving or like that?
No skydiving. No bungee jumping. Oh, but you can put me back in that raft. I'll go. But no, not flying through the air. No, can't do it. No.
Oh, gosh. That's hilarious.
All right. So as we start to wrap up here, we're going to need some life advice from you. So when people are entering the brewing business, what is something that they should know?
I would say be open to it because people are now getting into brewing in lots of different ways. So whether it's maybe volunteering on a canning line or going to brewing school or doing like an old school apprentice where you work for cheap or for free. Like be open to it being different than other industries, 1. And then 2, I really hope you like to clean because I'm not kidding. Like it is constant cleaning and organizing. And the people that do that are like, the list is long and their beers are great. But they're not great just because they're creative minds. They're great because the whole system is great. So yeah, hope you like to clean and be ready for something that's not like any other industry.
Right on. And then if you weren't operating, your brewing company, what would you be doing? And I know you're going to say teaching. So besides teaching. I
guess it's like teaching, but it's different. So Kate and I were talking about that this morning. And we're just like, what would we be doing? And she's like, you would totally be a fishing guide in Key West. And I'm like, yeah. That sounds good. So I'd probably be somewhere, I'd be wearing a lot of clothing because we talked about me being kind of Irish and getting burnt. But, I'd be styling with some good sunnies and catching some fish somewhere warm.
Hell yeah.
That's a good choice. I've never been that far down, but Florida's pretty nice. So
the farther down you go in Florida, the better it is.
have you actually been to the Keys?
I have been to so many corners of Florida, and I can tell you that for sure. Yeah, I've been to a lot of parts of the Keys. I've done a couple trips there, like a couple week-long trips and then day trips. I used to teach sea kayaking there.
Oh, wow. You've been all over.
I'll tell you, man, travel, it's what I love.
What is one piece of advice for anybody? What is a life lesson that you've learned, over your lifespan that you think other people need to know?
Well, especially with all the stuff going on right now, once life resumes, I won't even say resumes to normal because we'll have a new normal, just let it go. Like, don't hang on to what somebody said about you or, something that you're upset about or how crappy this feels that we're going through right now. Just let it go and move on.
That's great. All right, well, I'm good on questions. Joey?
I think I'm good too. This was great.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for inviting us on the show.
Oh, absolutely. And where can people catch you? What are your socials?
So we're on Facebook, Guardian Brewing Co. Make sure that you get the one that's in Saugatuck. Twitter, Guardian Brew Co. I'm not super active on there, but we're on Instagram, Guardian Brewing Co. So www.guardianbrewingco.com. Yeah, we're there.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Tim. It's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you, Kim and Kate, as well in the background.
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, you guys have a great time.
Thank you. You too.
Absolutely.
If you want some excitement, you come on this way because I know it's not very exciting in Northwest Ohio.
We do our best. We'll definitely make it that way for you guys.